Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you the speed up version of the live stream show. You know, over on Joy of Sharing live stream channel, which is our sister channel, we live stream every Thursday at let's see, it would be 7:30, no 8:30 Pacific time, 10:30 Eastern time. You know, in the morning, unless you live across the pond and then it's in the evening. Anyway, we're always there. We're live streaming. We're live streaming every Thursday in December, even though there is one on Christmas Eve and one on New Year's Eve. But it's in the morning, so it's not that big of a deal. So today on the live stream and all month, we're just going to be where our topic is creative play. And I wanted to work on some pages on my gel print for a journal that you will see assembled on the weekend. My video for that will be on the weekend, probably on Saturday. A paper bag journal, I'm making 2 of them for gifts, and I will show you how it's done, but I wanted to get some colorful pages to put in. So I cut down some cardstock, and it took me a while to warm up to the cardstock. Normally when I'm gel printing, I'm printing on a lightweight paper like deli paper or paper from my printer or rice paper or something like that, because I intend to use those prints to collage with. So I'm tearing them up, I'm gluing them down. In this case, I wanted a heavier paper, so most of it that I'm printing on today in this video is craft colored cardstock. So that would be like an 80-pound weight cardstock that's a light brown color. I also have some white, which is actually a glossy cardstock, but I'm printing on the back side of it, the more matte side of it. Just because I have a ton of it, and so I'm using it as well. And then these pages will be glued in to this book that I'm going to be making. So like I said, I cut them down to 10 inches by 7 inches, which is the size I need for pages. Then I also have, you know, some pieces of deli paper and some pieces of other stuff around, but I decided I wanted to play with my Arteza metallic acrylic paint. These are either pearlized or they have mica in them, and there's a lot of colors in the set, and I just decided to use them along with my gel press gel printing plate in 8x10 and 6x6, and then also StencilGirl stencils. All these stencils are from StencilGirl Products, and I used a lot of stencils today, so I'm not going to list them all for you, but I will put a link below to the StencilGirl Products website if you would like to find the stencils. They have tons of artist designed stencils there, and it's a great little company. It's a small company in the United States, and it's they ship internationally, so you can purchase them internationally and they will ship them to you. And they also have a club that you can join and get stencils, exclusive stencils monthly. But it's a great company. I love the company, so I'm very happy to talk about their stencils whenever I have a chance. I hope to one day design for them. I would really like to, so maybe that'll happen one day if I ever get ambitious enough to send in some designs. I think that would be really awesome. So what I'm doing is I'm using some regular acrylic paint that's more opaque, and then these Arteza metallic paints, which are very translucent. Almost all of them are translucent, but they have beautiful colors and they're very shiny. I know that you can't see how shimmery and shiny they are on the video very well. Sometimes I hold up the print and I will twist it back and forth so that you can see the shimmer. But it's fun to just have a little bit of shimmer on your pages every once in a while. So that is what I was going for. So I don't know, you could kind of see that one, but I do have some photos, but even in the photos, it's hard to see how shimmery or glittery things are. That's the nature of the reflective technology of photography and video. It doesn't pick it up in the same way that our eye does. So yeah, I'm having fun. I am combining that opaque paint with the shimmery paint. So like on that one, the light blue, Tiffany blue color paint is a opaque, not shimmery paint, but then it's got the shimmery design on it. So the way that I get that effect is I put down the regular paint first, then I put the stencil down, and then I pick up the regular paint through the stencil. Then I put the shimmery paint on top of the stencil before I pull the stencil off and print the entire thing. This one I started with the shimmery paint first and printed through it onto the tan craft colored cardstock, and that was a really neat effect because you have the very matte finish of the cardstock, and then you have this shimmery finish of these palm fronds over it. And then for the leftover paint that was under the stencil, I'm picking it up with black opaque acrylic. So yes, you can print with just all metallic all the time, and a couple of my prints are that, but I like the contrast between the flatter paints, although they're still shiny, they're not shimmery. I like to have the contrast between them so that you really get the shimmer coming out because it's contrasted against either a matte finish of a cardstock or the opaque paint that I'm using. So this time again, I put the shimmery paint down first, and then the shimmery paint is going to remain in the design under the stencil. I'm pulling up the paint through the stencil. That's just like an extra piece of regular paper. And then I will put another regular paint over it. The regular paints I used were either black or off-white, like buff titanium, or maybe sometimes a color, but I often will pick up all the paint off my plate using an extra layer, thin layer, so thin that you can see through it, layer of paint. So that doesn't change. My technique of printing that I prefer doesn't change. But as you can see, that one has the shimmery paint in the design of the stencil. I am showing you some still shots of some of them, but they're kind of grouped together. I also made a couple tags, but I need to make more tags because of the project I was making these for. I meant to be making tags along as I was going, but I kind of got sidetracked. You know, when you're doing a live stream, you're talking, you're reading what the people in the chat are saying and answering them, and you forget what your original idea purpose was. This time I put down some, what color is that? Magenta? Maybe magenta deep paint first under the stencil, and then I pulled up the excess through the stencil, which makes another collage piece. You know, those extra pieces end up getting used anyway. Maybe they get more layers on them, or maybe they just get used as they are. It's not a waste or anything, but I just am using a lighter paper for that because I know I'm going to use them for something else. So then I put several colors of the metallic paint over the stencil, and remember that other color is still underneath. So when I pull the stencil away, I have the contrast again between the flatter paint and the shimmery paint. And then I picked up the whole thing with some white. There I'm making one of my tags. I only ended up with 2 tags. I started at the very beginning making one, and then I made one more, and that was it. But that one's really cool. The pink one is really cool. This paper is really cool too. It's kind of hard to see it, but you'll see it in the picture. Really more of its true color that it ended up being in the picture. It looks a lot lighter on the video. So this time I'm putting down regular paint first, and then that paint's kind of gloopy, so I had to really mix it. A few of my paints need to be thrown away, and I need to get new ones, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. Pulling up the excess paint onto a piece of scratch paper, and then putting different colors of metallics on. Now, because this paint that I put on first wasn't very wet because it's starting to um, dye or be gloopy or whatever you want to call it, I didn't end up getting a lot of that darker green on the print. It ended up not coming up as much, coming away on the stencil because of the consistency of the paint. Also, when you're printing with cardstock, I should say that you need to add a little bit more paint than you normally would. I use very light coats of paint, multiple coats often, but very light coats. And as I was adjusting to printing on the cardstock, I did start adding more paint than I normally would because the cardstock absorbs the paint a lot more than a deli paper or a printing paper. So that's what I was noticing. And this paint looks black on the video, but it's actually Night from Dina Wakley. And it's getting gloopy too. My Dina Wakeleys are getting gloopy. I have a gloopy problem. You know, a gloopy problem in my studio. Here in Arizona, it's very dry. If things don't get their lids all the way on, and even if they do, time is definitely against me as far as paint goes. My paint gets thick quicker, I think, than maybe in a humid environment. Now that one was a stencil print, but it still turned out pretty. I will definitely use that for something, and that's just the excess paint that was on the stencil. So that's cool. And then you can see not a lot of that dark paint came up because it was so gloopy. It was dry already. But I still get enough contrast there. It's kind of annoying when your paint gets gloopy. You don't really want to throw it away because you spent money on it and you wish that you didn't have to throw it away, but then you realize it's really not doing you any good. So this piece of deli paper already had a different print on it, and I was just picking up the excess turquoise with it, and it turned out really cool. That little piece of collage paper it'll end up being. Adding some different colors of metallics. This is probably one of my favorite techniques, is to put paint down underneath the stencil and then put multiple colors of paint over the stencil. And there was a lot of paint, so I picked it up and then ended up getting a really interesting print that I like better than this one with the turquoise on it. So I picked that up with black, and it became very dramatic, but I think I like the one that was just a light print of the metallic on the craft color better than the dramatic one on the back. So only one side will show when I glue it down in my journal. So I'm going to have to pick. So this time, blue, cobalt blue, another paint that's all gloopy. Pretty color, but I guess I didn't use it that often because it's very, very thick. And it ends up drying under the stencil pretty much. Although I guess it did come out. That one did come out okay. I ended up with blue. Yeah, this wasn't one of the ones. Even though the paint was thick, I didn't really have the same problem. I got a lot of that cobalt blue to come up. So gel printing is a process. It's a learning process, and you may not get exactly what I get when you first start out. You've got to learn for your environment how much paint to put on, how much, the number one mistake with gel printing is too much paint. If you put too much paint, you get sloppy prints that don't make you happy. But also, you've got to contend with how humid or how dry is your environment. That makes a difference in your printing. And then, of course, the technique that you use. This is the technique that I use most often with stencils. Um, there's lots of other things you can do with gel prints, gel printing, and I have tons of videos on my channel. In fact, there's a playlist. You might just want to play through the playlist while you're printing, um, because you might get some tips and techniques that way. I am obsessed with gel printing. I do it so much. And I use all my papers. I really do for collage. So it's just something that I love to do. Love, love, love. So this time I picked up with Naples Jello, and it turned out really pretty on this craft colored cardstock. It's a nice color over that. Although the Naples is very opaque, you did get a few hints of the craft color through, and then some shimmer. That's a subtle print, but it's really pretty, especially when you see the shimmery parts. I also really like this particular color of the metallic paint, which, I'm not a fan of brown, but it's called dark brown, but it's a dark brown metallic. It's just really pretty. Really pretty. Gorgeous paint. So I hope you've enjoyed this gel printing video. If you have, please remember to give it a thumbs up. You can ask a question or leave a comment below, and I usually get back to you within 24 hours. You can also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We're almost to the next level, so it would be super great by the end of December if we could reach that. And you can share this or pin it on Pinterest, save it for yourself to watch later when you're gel printing. And all those things help my channel by helping that algorithm that YouTube has recommend me, because you said it was a good thing and you liked it and you commented and you shared it. They say, oh, well, that must be something someone would like. So here's a quick run through of all the prints that I made. You'll be seeing them again on Saturday or Sunday when I get the video done for making the paperback journal that I'm planning on using these for. So come back then and see how that turns out. And yeah, these are the pages for the book. I also made some extra stuff, so I'll show you that. There's the 2 tags, and then I need to make a few more. I need to gel print a little bit more. And then here's just the extras, the stuff on thin paper that I'll be able to use later in other projects. Some of them are stencil prints, some of them are gel prints. And yeah, that's it for me. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.